Alright, welcome back guys to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which just recently ended, so I thought it was a perfect time to start talking about it and just give you my full review of the season. But before I get into things, I do have something I want to tell you guys. Me and my friend Devan, if you watched this channel before, you guys should know him. We did start our own podcast called The Cinnamon Boys. The channel link will be in the description below, but I just wanted us to give us a little shout out to get us going. We just started. The first episode dropped yesterday, I'm pretty sure. So go check that out if you guys will and want to support us. But yeah, let's get into talking about Spider-Man. So overall, I did enjoy this movie. This is not a movie, a TV show. I'm gonna keep mixing up those words very much, but I enjoyed this TV show very much. I mean, it did have, obviously it wasn't perfect, so it did have problems, or at least to me, my problems with it. You could like it. Of course, a movie is, see, like I said right there, I called it a movie again. A movie or a TV show, it's a form of art, so art is subjective to whoever. So who am I to tell you you're wrong? This is just my thoughts about the show. That's what you're here to see, right? Before we get into the good, the mixed, the bad, I just want to say I recommend this show for people to watch, as I do think it's a good Spider-Man animated show. So let's get into the good. So the first thing is, of course, I like the Spider-Man in this version. He's very quirky, friendly, and I feel like those are important attributes to Spider-Man. And the most important one, of course, is bravery. One thing that I like to point out is in this one scene, like when Nico, his best friend, and him meet, before he even is Spider-Man, he saves her by his bravery. He steps up to this big monster, even though he has no superpowers and could easily get wounded or worse. He still stands up for her without even knowing this person, and that just shows you what type of person Spider-Man is, as even though without the power, he still wants to help people and do his best for the world. And I enjoy seeing that very much within the TV show. He's just very fun. Like I said, I guess his jokes can get a little played out, but I don't know. Having a shy Spider-Man would be a little weird now, I guess. I would like to see kind of like a popular Spider-Man who just jokes around with all the characters. I don't know. I feel like it is kind of refreshing and enjoyable to see. And the way they shoot or animate the action and swing things, I thought were very cool. Or at least in the earlier episodes, I feel like it was focused on a little bit more. Definitely like the scene with Scorpion when him and Spider-Man first meet up. I'll talk about that a little later while I talk about the Scorpion. But they make it look like a comic book, and that's something I like. I mean, I love the Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse movies, and those kind of have a comic book feeling to them as well. So I don't know. I feel like they kind of took away from that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I enjoyed watching it on my screen. And another thing is this is a street level Spider-Man show, so it is a relief after watching Marvel's Spider-Man, which was street level. We watched Spider-Man struggle to balance work life and superhero life and his normal life, with school and other stuff. And I enjoy seeing that, him trying to be a normal person, but also him thinking he has to hold up to this responsibility of helping everybody that is in danger around him. Those are just attributes that are very honorable in Spider-Man and honestly make him one of my favorite superheroes. As a kid, he was my top favorite superhero. So even my whole room was Spider-Man decorated at once. I know it sounds a little nerdy, but that's just how much I like the character. Next person I want to talk about is Lonnie Lincoln. So a little spoiler, I guess, if you don't know. In the comics, this is the supervillain Tombstone. So we are basically watching his villain origin story. And I found that very interesting, as he's he's a character you can relate with. He's an emotional character. And it's just very sad to see, as you know, he's walking down a bad path and is put in these bad situations constantly and can't really do anything about it. And then at the end has like this loyalty to the wrong people. So he's just going to keep going down the wrong path. And it's just tough to see, because Lonnie Lincoln in the show was very kind. You know, he was sticking up for people, being nice. He's friends with Peter Parker. He wasn't a bully or anything. So he was just this wholesome guy in the show, and then you're watching all of these bad things happen to him. And you can't really help but be sad. And I love when a show can do that to you, have an emotional character, make you emotional. That's when you know a show's kind of doing something right. Of course, I'm not saying this is the best Spider-Man show of ever. I mean, it could be, to be honest. I don't really know. I haven't watched too many Spider-Man animated shows. Just the ones I really grew up with, and this one. But Lonnie was a great addition, and I'm happy kind of they chose to focus on him and show him becoming a villain. The next good I want to talk about is the Scorpion. I know I've already talked about good about the action scenes and whatnot, but the Scorpion is where it really hits, because I don't know really if this is a spoiler or not, or if you've seen this in the trailers. I didn't watch the trailers, but Scorpion's gear is helped out by Doc Ock, so he has this tail that can extend super long. I don't know. They make him out to seem super menacing, surprisingly menacing in a kid show, and that's what I really enjoyed about it. Showing how this villain can beat Spider-Man, because it's so obvious, compared to Spider-Man, yeah, he should lose. The Scorpion's so much bigger. But then the show, has to go through how Spider-Man holds back. Obviously, that's a big component to Spider-Man, because he's scared of his full power and how bad he can hurt people. That part scares himself. Which is always, of course, like I said, a good thing is to watch about a street level Spider-Man. You can see these things about his character more than you can when he's fighting these big level people alongside the Avengers. They didn't really focus around his character, but you don't really need to do that with all villains. So I mean, they just gave the base thing of he's a gang leader, and when he turns into a Scorpion, like I said, he's menacing. I like how menacing and just powerful he is, because he'll kill anybody. He's ruthless, and I don't know. I feel like you don't really see that in a show, so it was definitely a breather, or it was definitely a surprise, and a good one at that. All right, so we're just gonna go to the mixed. And I know it is a Spider-Man show, and I'm happy he was the main focus, him and Lonnie Lincoln and Norman Osborn, but I feel like they didn't really do much to the side characters. They tried exploiting that Harry was a rich kid's son, so he was born into this popularity, and he's not really dealing with it well, but they don't focus on it enough for me to really care about it. And same with Nico, she's just Peter Parker's best friend, and she's good at that. I like her as that. But her own character, especially the end, I meant to search it up, but I didn't. Who she is, or what she is. It's just really confusing. They don't really focus enough on her. I had a feeling there was going to be something, because her necklace shined when they were in the car. Were they running from something? But I forget what they were doing, but it shined, and I was oh, that's going to have to do with something. But they don't really touch upon that until the end of the show. And like I said, they don't really focus on her enough. Uh, Aunt May is great. I mean, they never really focus on Aunt May. So she does what she needs to do. Can't really hate on her. But I mean, just the side characters just really don't do much for me. Anyways, so let's go talk about the bad. Alright, so now let's talk about the bad. So if you don't like spoilers, like I told you before, stop here. But the origin story, I mean, I just don't really get it. So if you watched it already, you know it has to deal with time control and Stephen Strange, or Doctor Strange, however you want to call him. I just don't really understand, because doesn't there have to be like an original timeline? So if that happened in the future, and that spider was what made Peter Parker Spider-Man, in the original timeline, how did that spider become like the spider that turns Peter into Spider-Man? I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, and you guys can tell me in the comments. I just don't really like that. I mean, at first I thought it was like, okay, a different dimension. You know, we've seen that with Miles Morales. You know, it's something we've seen before. I was like, okay, I get it. But when you bring the time control aspect into it, it just makes so many things complicated. And I hate when they use that kind of stuff for that. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't work for me. That's all I got to say. If it works for you, that's fine. I don't know. I feel like we've seen a lot of time stuff lately. And I thought it was gonna be cooler. At the beginning of the last episode, I knew. I was like, oh, so it's just gonna be a time thing. That's what it ended up being. Like I said, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. It doesn't really make sense to me. I just kind of wanted to go on a rant about that because, like, why did you choose that origin story for Spider-Man when he's had a pretty basic, like, and good, by the way, like, even though it's basic, it's a good origin story. You can change a couple things up, but you don't have to completely change it up like that. And I just think that was a shot in the dark and a complete miss. After my rant now, let's just go on and talk about the next thing. All right. I don't really enjoy the suits he wears throughout the show. I mean, yes, like, I of course love the original Spider-Man suit, but other than that, there's really no good suits. And I only really bring this up because, like, they spent a whole episode on it, and I didn't really think that was, like, interesting about Norman, like, Osborn trying to change Peter Parker, just change him from Spider-Man and him becoming someone else. There were some interesting aspects, but I don't know. I felt like we spent way too much time on it, and I feel like it was more of just a filler episode. Even like the Osborn suit that's white, again, it was all right. But the original Spider-Man suit, I mean, there's nothing better than that suit because dang, it looks so sexy in the show. But I just want to, again, another rant, I guess. But you don't really see the suit for too long, and the other suits you do see are not the best, I think. So, and the last thing I really didn't enjoy was Norman Osborn himself. So they made him out to seem like this really bad guy throughout the show. And then when it all led up to what he was doing, I didn't really see the evil in him yet. They might be leading towards that. But I didn't feel like he turned out to be the bad guy. And I was kind of disappointed because that's what the show felt like it was leading to. I don't know. Maybe people like that. The switch had changed, a misdirection. But I feel like he would have been cooler throughout the show. But no, he basically is like a Tony Stark for Spider-Man. Like the Marvel had it. But it's just Norman Osborn instead. I mean, he's just like that rich guy trying to help. Obviously, he does have his own motives. But we've seen that in so many like masterminds or people playing people. We've just seen it so many times, and I felt like they could have added more to Norman Osborn. And they didn't really focus on the relationship with him and Harry either, which, like I said, they didn't add much to the side characters, which I believe, or I wish they have, but we don't get everything right. The show can't be perfect, but yeah. So those are my thoughts about Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I liked the show overall. It was a very enjoyable watch. So I do recommend it if you haven't watched it already. I mean, if you're watching this, like I said, you should already have watched it. But before I go, I do want to shout out me and Devan's podcast one more time, The Cinema Boys. It will be in the description below. I kind of had a mind blank there for a minute. But I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, leave a like. And if you like my content I provide you overall, subscribe if you guys will. But yeah, until then, see you next video.
I'm okay.